That's right, Zaza. The Clippers stay alive to set up the two greatest words in sports, Game 7.
We'll preview Cleveland-Chicago in round 2 and ask if this is finally the year the Bulls get past LeBron.
And it's the end of the week, so you know we're counting down the top 10 plays.
It's Friday, May 1st. The starter starts now.
Good evening, Sweet World, and welcome to another playoff edition of The Starters. Whether you're joining us live online, you're watching us on NBA TV, you're catching us on YouTube, very, very happy to have you. I'm J.E. Skeets, and alongside me, as always, that's Tass Mellis.
Biggest smile I've had all year, Game 7.
To my right, Starters blog editor, Trey Kirby.
Hey-o!
Hey-o! And finally, the international man of mystery, taking it to the max, Lee Ellis.
Amigos.
Lily, yeah. We are going to preview and predict the Cavs and the Bulls second round series later in the show, and we got the top 10 plays of the week. But we are going to Game 7 thanks to the Clippers. We start in San Antonio. Last night, Blake Griffin scored 26 points. Chris Paul added 19 and 15. And the Clips, they stay alive. They pick up the 102-96 Game 6 win over the Spurs. Series goes back to L.A. for Game 7. What a series and what another really entertaining game between these two teams.
Yeah, in the second quarter, it sure looked like the Spurs were taking over. Marco Bellinelli was on fire.
It's a spicy one!
You know, when this guy comes off the bench and starts firing, that there are going to be some issues for the Clippers if he's hitting shots like that. The man has a tattoo of the Larry O'Brien trophy on the inside of his bicep. You know when he gets hot, he wants to win it all. But then the hack of DeAndre started, and it kind of took the momentum out of the Spurs. And if you don't believe in momentum and stuff like that, well, something tangible happened. Tim Duncan intentionally fouled DeAndre when Pop didn't want that, a mental lapse for the Spurs. And then his third foul forced him to go to the bench with only a few minutes left in the second quarter. And that's when the Clippers took over, going on an 11-4 run with Duncan on the bench. And it seriously changed the game. The hack of DeAndre, they were up 9 when it started. And if you don't believe in momentum, fine. But the Clippers on the other side of the floor, you just know. You kind of get in your head, oh, okay, we're down, but this gives us another chance. Like, it just gives them a renewed energy, and Duncan on the bench gave them another life. They go into half, all tied up, new game in the second.
Yeah, we have and can debate all day about whether the hack of so-and-so is bad for the game, and if it's horrible for the casual fan, and we could do that, and we have done it here on the show. But can we admit that the hack of DJ, for the most part, really has backfired and not worked that well for the Spurs and Pop?
It's worked on the road primarily, but at home, in front of their crowd in San Antonio, it hasn't, because you kind of lose your home crowd when the game just absolutely stops.
Comes to a crawl,
It stopped to a crawl, and I really didn't see the point in doing it in the second quarter when they were up and they had all the momentum in the world. One of their bench players hit 7-11 threes, and they stopped. I mean, a tactical move, sure, but as far as an energy in the building, it just kind of sucked the life out of it.
Spurs were playing pretty good defense up until that point. They allowed the Clippers 42% shooting from the floor in the first half, 52% in the second half. It just is hard to stay fired up when you're stopping every 30 seconds to go shoot free throws. Not to mention the Clippers play only basically 6 guys. They'll throw a 7th and 8th in there occasionally. It gives them a chance to rest. If you're at the line that whole time, it's a pretty chill zone.
And you know what? DeAndre wasn't horrible.
No.
He wasn't horrible at the line. I mean, he wasn't knocking down all of them, but he was around 50-50 there, with knocking down one every 2 for the most part. But look, that's a small part, I think, of this game, the hack of DJ, and you're right. It definitely sort of took the crowd of it and got the Clippers back in the game. But Chris Paul, who struggled in the first half, as you said, and Blake Griffin, both of these guys, I was amazed. Again, going 40-plus minutes, these two, involved in every single play, it felt like, down the stretch. Yes, Jamal Crawford hit a big shot and hit some big free throws late. It was these two, though, CP3 and Blake Griffin, honestly willing this team into a Game 7.
And that's what he has to do, Chris Paul. I mean, Doc Rivers, who cares if it's so predictable? Just run everything through Chris Paul, and if it's Blake Griffin who's got to take that shot, keep doing it. Chris Paul's had a really funny sort of series. In the first 3 games, he only had 17 assists with 12 turnovers. Last 3 games, he's had 3 turnovers and 32 assists. He only had 1 turnover last night. I don't care how tight he is. You've just got to get the ball in his hands and let him basically freelance and do whatever he wants, because it worked for them last night. And now, Game 7, just got to do it again.
Yeah, I mean, it worked for Chris Paul and Blake Griffin, too, who was, in the final 11 minutes, he had 8 points, Blake Griffin, 4 boards, 3 assists, not a single miss from the field or the free throw line. How impressed have you been with Blake really throughout this entire series? Well, yes, he had the gaffe in the one game where he lost the ball, but numbers-wise, he's done a really impressive job.
Oh, he's been ridiculous. And people who simply look to the fourth quarter and looked at those turnovers just aren't watching the entire series. He has taken the most shots out of anyone in the playoffs thus far. He's leading the league in rebounding thus far at about 13 per game. He's leading his team, and he actually took a lot less shots in Game 6's fourth quarter than he did in Game 5 when we were ridiculing him for only going 1 of 9, looking tired. He only took 3 shots in this one. He is leading his team,
They were
and
just falling,
everybody was
sure.
just helping around them. I thought when the Spurs didn't put their foot on the throat of the Clippers in the second quarter, it gave these guys life, some of the best players in the world, and they turned it around.
Yeah, we've been pretty rough on the Clippers bench, saying that the Spurs bench has outplayed them the whole time, but basically Chris Paul and Blake Griffin have outplayed the entire Spurs starters for the most part this entire series, and when you're playing only 6 or 7 guys, if you can get humongous performances from your top 2, that's a fine way to do it. That's how you have to do it.
And these guys, I mean, you saw them in the huddles, in timeouts late in the game. Both of them, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, like hunched over.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
holding onto their shorts, like just completely gassed. But of
Well,
course,
Blake's giving it all on defense, but even Boris Diaw and Thiago Splitter, guys who probably have half the athleticism that Blake Griffin has, are going right by him. And Blake is trying his butt off, but he has to do so much on the offensive end. It's kind of hard to be up for it the entire game. And Chris Paul going 0 for 7 in the first half was helped out big time by J.J. Redick. Without J.J. Redick going off in this game, scoring 12 points in the first quarter, half the Clippers' points, we're not even talking about a win.
You think the series is over at that
No,
point?
I mean, they'd be down big time. He was just feeling it.
Yeah, he had to, and they're going to need that as well because he only hit 1 3-pointer in that game, but a lot of those were long twos. But if JJ gets it going, it just gives the Clippers so much more of an option on offense because Chris Paul, we know we talked about, he doesn't score
especially the pick and roll situation
Yeah.
with Chris and be it Blake popping, you need the release guy in the corner, be it JJ running around or whatever.
You know, when Chris isn't hitting that shot, once he starts knocking that down and JJ's knocking it down, it does just scramble the Spurs defense a little bit, and they just need anything to upset that Spurs because we know once they lock in, they're pretty hard to shake. But Chris Paul, he was kind of like Isaiah Thomas back in his heyday there, knowing exactly the right time when to pass or knowing exactly the right time when to shoot and score, and it's really impressive to see.
We got Game 7, Saturday night. Very excited. Greg Popovich was not happy, as you'd imagine, with his team's sort of effort. He wasn't yelling by any means after the game, but it was sort of the disappointed dad.
He called them soft.
Yeah, it was the disappointed dad, though. He said, quote, "We should be embarrassed with the way we came out in a closeout game in every regard. You said it, Tass, we were just soft. I don't know how we stayed in the game, to be honest with you, because, yeah, this was a close game. A very weird series, of course, here. The road team having won 4 times, which makes Game 7 interesting. A lot of times with Game 7, I forget what the numbers are, 80% or something like that?
That
The
is
home
correct.
Team,
Yeah.
The home team wins Game 7?
79.8.
Yeah, I mean, does it
Eric Reed.
almost really, does it really matter in this series with both teams the way they can play on the other team's floor?
No. It
Doesn't matter at all.
And I think we might see the Hack a DJ again in Los
course,
Angeles. And that it sucked the life out of the building. Steve Ballmer can't be Steve Ballmer when you go to the Hack a DJ. People just aren't as pumped, and it kind of just doesn't give you that Game 7 advantage when you go to that Hack a DJ. I'm sure Pop is going to pull it out at some point.
I mean, you were talking about Chris Paul, Blake Griffin being the best stars, at least for good chunks of this series. Kawhi Leonard has suddenly sort of gone quiet over the last 2 games. He was great at times early in the season, and he's still doing a very solid job defensively. I would say for the most time, a lot of the times has been shutting down J.J. Redick when he's matched up on him. And I know he got Chris Paul there a couple times last night. He needs to have a big Game 7 because you've already had sort of your Duncan game, and I'm never going to count out Duncan. I'm sure he's got another 20-20 in him somewhere. But he already gave you that one killer Duncan game, and I think when we get into that Game 7 situation, Chris Paul and Blake Griffin are probably going to get theirs. They need Kawhi, the Spurs do, to have sort of a star game as well. You see the numbers in the wins, nearly 25 points per game compared to the 18 in the 3 losses, and the shooting just drops off in the losses. He's very important to this team, especially on an offensive. I mean, we talk about the Defensive Player of the Year in Kawhi, but he needs to give them some offense.
They need to find a way to create offense for him instead of just kind of waiting for him to create it for himself. They're not necessarily using him right. Get him some more buckets when Jamal Crawford's guarding him. That should be an easy matchup for Kawhi.
Before we get to our Game 7 predictions for Saturday night's game, here's Blake talking about how no one believed in the Clippers. Well, no one, except for me.
There's a sheet in our locker that the coaches gave us, and it was like 47 predictions, and only one person predicted us. I don't know if that was it, or I'm sure there was more people, but just looking at that sheet alone kind of puts it in perspective.
Do you remember who the one person was?
I don't know his name. He's on that Starters show.
Oh, Taz, you're best friends with him.
Yeah, it's cool, Blake. It's cool, Blake. You don't know my name. That's cool. I know you'd recognize me if you saw me. We've talked a bunch of times. I've put a mic in your face like 6 times at All-Star weekends.
I like to think that the Clippers are not playing for their organization or their fans. They're just playing for Tass.
Yeah.
Trying to get that Game 7 win. Here are our predictions for just Game 7. And Tass did pick the Clips in 7 at the beginning of this thing. We all just had the Spurs in 6.
Blake's going to love seeing this again.
Yeah, he is. So you're sticking, of course, with the Clips to take the game at home.
Might as well. You really have. If you're trying to predict this game, you're
Good luck.
I mean, yes, you're lying if you're saying you know who is definitively going to win this game, because it can go either way.
Yeah, I'd be actually happy to see the Clippers actually win. You know, I mean, I love the Spurs, I love the way they play, but I'd like to see the Clippers actually have a huge win under their belt and then get into the second round, and then they've got 3 more rounds to go.
It's all right. You got
Yeah.
the Kentucky Derby on Saturday.
Yeah.
You got Game 7. You got
Yep.
the Pacquiao Mayweather fight.
Great.
You're going to be inside all day.
Oh, what a great day.
Yeah, I love it. All right. Got to take a break. When we come back, we'll preview and predict another showdown between LeBron James and the Chicago Bulls. You're watching The Starters. Welcome back to The Starters. There was another Game 6 on last night. It was a little different than the Spurs-Clippers game.
We're not going to Game 7, baby. We're not going to Game 7.
We're going to lose by 54, baby! Crazy game in Milwaukee. Bulls never trailed. They led by 20 points in the final, at least 20 points in the final 33 minutes of the game for a crazy finishing score of 120-66. Hey, at least the Bucks extended this thing to 6. So you see it there. Chicago, after ending the Bucks season, they now advance, and they have the second round meeting against the King and his Cavaliers. So let's look at the regular season matchup. Of course, being played 4 times this season. Cavs took 3 of them. Can't take away a whole lot from these stats. I mean,
No, not much.
they're shooting the exact same field goal percentage. The Bulls, a little
Are
surprising.
healthy now.
Yeah, better from 3, and they're healthy. That's a
Right.
great point. And of course, the Cavs are not as healthy, and we'll get to that in a second. Here are our predictions. Let's hear from you guys. Let us know on Twitter, #TheStarters. Who do you like, Bulls or Cavs? 2 of us like the Cavs in 6. That's Lee and I. And Tass and Trey say Cavs in 7. Keep in mind, Trey Kirby, a Chicago Bulls fan, this must pain him.
Trying to be honest out here.
Yeah, I appreciate the honesty. So the Bulls catching a big break here, of course. Cavs big man Kevin Love out 4 to 6 months following the shoulder surgery after the tie-up there with Kelly Olynyk in the first round series. Also, J.R. Smith in that series. He's going to miss the first 2 games because of a very stupid suspension, clocking Crowder there in the head. We were always debating, was he going to get 1, 2, 3? Gets 2 in the end, so he's going to miss the first 2 games in Cleveland. It's sort of weird, right? It's like a reversal of fortunes in a way, because the Bulls are the team for once, coming in healthier, maybe a little more settled, but in the end, we're all taking the Cavs.
There's going to be a lot on LeBron and Kyrie's shoulders offensively with Kevin Love and J.R. Smith out. The stretchers of the floor with LeBron and Kyrie. And then Mozgov, I mean, who's going to come in for them? Iman Shumpert, most likely, not a shooter. And then maybe a Tristan Thompson, or I think we're going to see them go a little bit small with a James Jones, Mike Miller, Sean Marion type to give them some space so LeBron can go basically full force at Pau Gasol underneath the rim to spread out and get Joakim Noah at the three-point line. But it's going to be so much pressure on LeBron, and I think he's going to handle it pretty well.
Yeah, but that's the thing to me is that the Cavs have LeBron and Kyrie, and that kind of is going to be enough to probably win 2 of the games this series, because there are times when the Bulls' offense just won't function. They don't really get into their sets fast. They dribble around a lot. They try and force post-ups. There are just times when the offense just cannot score, and with LeBron and Kyrie, you know the Cavs are going to score.
This is a fun series, of course, because we got the LeBron Bulls history, and LeBron's beat them the last 3 times in 5 games. But you look at the Bulls, like, again, this is the best case scenario for them coming in against LeBron. You've got Rose playing pretty well. Jimmy Butler obviously has blossomed into more of an offensive threat. Pau Gasol inside. I mean, everyone for the most part, I think Joakim Noah, of course, is still banged up. But if they can't do it, if they can't beat LeBron and the Cavs, this season, especially without Love and JR there for the first 2 games, then I don't think they're ever going to do it.
No, probably not. I think this series against the Milwaukee Bucks is a fair reflection of how the Bulls' season has been. At times, they've looked fantastic.
Yeah.
And at other times, it took them 3 games to close out the series. And that 3rd game was fantastic. I mean, they absolutely destroyed the Bucks, so you wonder how they even lost twice in a row to them in the first place. But you're right. I mean, I think the key for the Bulls is they've got to get one of these first 2 games in Cleveland without J.R. Smith. Once J.R. comes back, it changes everything for the Cavs. They're at full strength, obviously, without Kevin Love up to that point. And I think that really is key. If the Bulls go down 2-0 2-0. I think it's very hard for them to then get back on and win 4 of the next 5.
Some teams are going to win on the road in this series because
Yeah.
the Bulls don't really have a home court advantage at the United Center. They almost had the same road record as they did a home record. And the Cavs, they love playing on the road too. LeBron says he gets up for road games more than he does home games. So I think they will steal one of the two in Cleveland.
Back to that whole LeBron at possibly playing the 4. You think that's a no-brainer? You try that out, or are you worry that he is going to get worn down a little bit defensively against Noah and the bigs there?
I think you can hide him on Mike Dunleavy at the 3, and just because he has so much pressure on the other end, just so much responsibility at the other end, you don't want him banging down low with Joakim Noah. He can obviously stop Joakim Noah's offensive ability because Joe doesn't do a lot scoring the basketball. But do you want Joe on LeBron's back banging for rebounds? LeBron just doesn't love fighting down low for an entire game. And the big thing that the Cavs have in this series is the unpredictability of their lineups. David Blatt can come in and throw in one of the oldies. You know, we may get a way back playback from a Mike Miller or a James Jones or Sean Marion at the 4. You know, kind of like Shane Battier played beside LeBron with the Heat, just a guy who can spread the floor. Or you might get, you know, a Tristan Thompson. There's just a bunch of lineups. And the Bulls are going to have to adapt to that pretty quickly. So, yes, Kevin Love and J.R. Smith are out, but there is that unpredictability factor.
I will say, though, besides having to bang for rebounds against Noah, it's not like Noah, especially the way he is right now, it's not like you're going to put Noah on the block and he's going to go to work by any stretch of the imagination against LeBron. So I think you will see LeBron, at times, play him because Noah's going to work around the free throw line anyway, and that's fine. LeBron can probably disrupt a lot of passes. It's going to be an interesting series. I love that Noah has already started the fun trash talk, in some sense saying, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm excited to go to Cleveland.
Back in April, he said it'd be great to play him in the playoffs. It's something I really hope happens. At least the Bulls will hopefully have energy this series.
And hopefully we get a long series. That's what everyone's looking for. There again are the predictions. 2 of us in 7, 3 and myself in 6. Let's hear from you guys on Twitter. Got to take a break. When we come back, we'll count down this week's top 10 plays. You're watching the Starters. Welcome back to the Starters. Time for the top 10 plays of the week at number 10. Darren Williams.
Oh, the Darren Williams game.
That's right, game 4 in Brooklyn.
Oh, man.
Putting on a show, you know it's your night when you're hitting shots like this. Like, double team for a second, whoa, behind the back, and then just wets it from 30 feet.
Yeah, the behind the back part's real nice.
Yeah, look at that.
It's off the double and
Just chuck it up.
swish bomb.
Swish bomb.
2 minutes left in the 4th. Very, very nice. At number 9, Jake Crowder gets into the lane. It gets a little crowded, so he drops it off to Big Baby Light. Jared Sullinger with the drop in.
Oh, yeah.
Nice pump fake.
That's a pump fake party,
Oh, yeah, PFP. Hashtag it, though.
Or the,
Hashtag that, please. Thank you. At number 8, Clippers in transition. Chris Paul is going to find a guy that you want to find in transition. DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre the Giant here. This is nice.
I like that all of his big dunks are right-handed. That's odd to me.
I feel like we are appreciating their athleticism a little more against the Spurs, who are anti-athletic.
Maybe.
It seems to be happening. At number 7, Al Farouk Aminu getting out on the break. I'm getting paid this summer
yeah.
with the throw down. Al Farouk.
He's roaring before he's even thrown that one down.
Yeah, you gave a nice scream after.
Yeah.
Al Farouk. I mean, whatever.
At number 6, yeah, let's see that screen. At number 6, crazy Jimmy Butler and 1. Look at Michael Carter Williams. He's playing the old Kyle Korver defense.
Yeah, defense
You just
from
put your
behind.
arms up in your chest. I didn't touch him. Now Jimmy,
The guy jumped into him.
backwards. Yeah,
Definitely earned that one.
but
That's his natural shooting motion, jumping to the left.
Count it.
At number 5, Zaza Pachulia. We're still not going to Game 7, but he can throw it up and bank it home.
That's his natural shooting.
that's a nice, nice horse shot though, right?
Yeah.
A no look. Bill Murray would love this shot. A no look shot. Remember those commercials?
Marv Albert would say that's a tough angled shot.
At number 4, it was not a great Game 6 for the Bucks. You know, they lost by 54, but Miles Plumlee,
Still playing D, though.
yeah, with the 2-hand
Yeah.
rejection on Gibson.
Nothing easy!
They were down 40 points at that point.
At number 3, Dwight Howard looking fantastic this postseason and getting the alley-oop from Jason Terry.
It's a thrunk, I think, on this one. Isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, dunks like a thrunk. Very nice.
Yeah, that's right. Like the old dunk contest, right? When he was Superman there. At number 2, back to D-Will. Woo! See you later, Dwight Carroll.
Murray Carroll's on his way back to Atlanta. I think.
Look how far he goes over. Whoa!
It's like a season's worth of highlights for Darren
But
Williams
remember
in that
when?
game.
Yeah, remember when this was a thing? D-Will
Yeah.
did have one of the best crossovers in the game.
Back in the day. Back in the
Number 1, Kawhi Leonard getting up. The alley-up.
Was it on a Tuesday?
As Trey said, probably the Spurs' one alley-oop of the season.
Got to make it a special one.
Oh, that's nice, though.
That's gorgeous. That's why it's our #1 play
There you go.
of the week.
Agree, disagree. Let Lee Ellis know.
It's a tough week.
He has a big hand in making these. All right, we'll look at tonight's schedule. Only one game on. It's the Hawks and the Nets, Game 6. The Hawks trying to close this out
It's over.
in 6. Oh, that's it. It's over.
Big call.
Today's game changer, though, presented by FanDuel, the leader in one-day fantasy sports. We're looking at Kyle Korver. You see the numbers, how great he's been at home shooting the ball, especially from 3 there, 43%. But in the 2 losses on the road, struggling mightily. 22% from 3, only 3 three-pointers made in the entire 2 games, 14 at home. Lee, huge game changer.
It is. It's funny that we're actually calling him the game changer because we saw the effect he had on Wednesday night when he hit those 5 and he was fantastic. Is it the acoustics or is it the lighting in the Brooklyn Center? We don't know. Maybe we'll find out tonight. But really, some of those shots he's been taking, you talk about those 20 points plan that he's got before he takes any shot. Some of them seem to be a little bit rushed.
Oh, he's only going to like 17, 18 on the checklist?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. We'll be right back with Lee's very solid play. Back with the starters, Lee. Who wins the very solid play of the night?
We're going with the San Antonio Spurs. It dawned on me, this could actually be the final very solid play from the San Antonio Spurs if they lose on Saturday night. So we're going out with a beauty here. Beautiful ball movement. Danny Green wide open, knocks down the 3. I mean, it's just gorgeous. Look where Danny Green starts. He's not even on the screen here.
Where is he? I can't find him.
Finally in the play here. Moves it to Patty, over to Timmy, over to Danny, and knocks down a...
Switch bomb.
And that's what I call a very solid play.
He's had some struggles knocking down the switch bomb.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. He only needs to knock down 1.
Right. As long as it's within a very solid play.
Exactly.
You're right. All right. So tonight's game, it is the Hawks and the Nets. The 1 versus the 8. Brooklyn trying to extend this, trying to give us another Game 7. We'll find out. That gets underway at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. This morning, we had a lot of fun recording our hour-long Drop podcast. It's up on iTunes and the blog. You can check it out. We talked about LaMarcus Aldridge's upcoming free agency, new OKC head coach Billy Donovan and the challenges he faces in his first year there, and also discussed our NBA spirit animals. So and a whole lot more. So again, check that out on iTunes or up on the blog, and we'll be back on Monday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern.
Quick prediction this evening, Hawks Nets.
It's over!
I'm going Hawks.
I'm saying it's going to Game 7, baby.
Wow.
All right, enjoy the games this weekend. Thank you very much for joining us, folks. And remember, the 3 best things to do at a baseball game, well, score the game, heckle, and crack some peanuts.
Oh, and have some pops. Brace the weekend, people.